We are at the hospital because we are...
We're calling y'all leave.
We are dealing with bladder cancer.
Back in February 2025, we spilled the tea that Karrueche Tran was secretly linked to sports icon Deion Sanders, and everybody swore we were reaching. Fast forward to July 2025, and boom, the truth hit harder than a playoff upset. Deion revealed he's battling bladder cancer, and right in the middle of his surgery footage, his son Deion Jr. dropped a video on his well-off media channel. Guess who's sitting front row, holding his hand and wiping his tears like a ride or die? Karrueche, baby. She wasn't just there for moral support, she was all in, wiping sweat, tears, and even the not-so-pretty moments, saying things like, "We are doing this, and we are fighting this together." That's more than romance, that's devotion on display for the whole world to see. But hold up, because as touching as that sounds, people are whispering. There's a serious age gap between them, and the deeper you dig, the more this whole setup starts looking messy.
I'm not even trying to be funny. I really want somebody to help me to understand what on God's green earth does Karrueche and Deion Sanders have in common? Like, how did those two souls find one another? That is such an odd arrangement. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. I'm sorry. Like, why? News to me, right? I'm like, wait a minute. Deion Sanders is in the hospital and Karrueche Tran is crying. For what? What's she even doing there? What do you mean they're an item? Like, what? It just seemed like they just be throwing names in a hat, shaking it up, and like, all right, you two, couple up. Because what the hell? How did they even... What do they talk about?
Reports say Karrueche and Deion actually crossed paths in November 2024 when she popped up on the Toby Talk Show. From that moment, the chemistry was undeniable. But the real question is, did someone already fumble the dating playbook before the game even started? Deion was chopping it up with Roxy Diaz on the Toby Talk Show when sparks first started flying. And from there, it didn't take long. The two hit that Instagram follow button, and before anybody knew it, whispers turned into receipts. By February 2025, Super Bowl weekend rolled around, and paparazzi caught them straight up holding hands at a restaurant like they weren't even trying to hide it anymore. And if you keep an eye on the Sanders family socials, you already know the clues were there. Fans spotted Karrueche slipping into the frame at family events, especially at Deion's NFL draft party, where she was low-key tucked into the primetime chaos like she'd been there forever. This wasn't just a fling in the shadows, she was mixing right in with his world. Now let's do the math. As of this video, they've been rocking together for about 8 months. That's long enough to know what makes each other laugh, what sets each other off, and yeah, probably long enough to keep things spicy behind closed doors. But here's where the drama kicks in. This matchup is raising eyebrows everywhere. Deion isn't just a dad, he's a father of 5 from 2 different women. And let's not forget, he's already rocking the grandpa title, holding a grandbaby in his arms. Meanwhile, Karrueche, she's still living free with no kids and no baggage, just vibes. The contrast is wild, like 2 people living in completely different chapters of life crashing into each other. Scroll through Karrueche's Instagram and her whole vibe screams luxury brunches in Paris, champagne flutes clinking, and designer fits, not diaper runs, pull-ups, and kiddie play dates. She's been glowing in that independent, carefree lane. But here's the twist. Back in 2024, Karrueche openly admitted she was ready to have a baby. That dream has been sitting heavy on her heart, and she's not shy about it. Now flip the script. Deion is out here pushing past his prime, practically on the doorstep of senior citizenship, and even joked that he's shooting blanks. But then he turned around on his talk show and casually dropped that he's still thinking about having more kids. Wait, what? That's like a plot twist nobody saw coming. Here's the elephant in the room: emotional equity. Karrueche's desire to be a mom is raw and untouched, filled with the thrill of firsts she's never experienced. Baby showers, tiny first steps, those late night feedings when you're delirious but in love. She deserves a partner walking into that season wide-eyed right beside her, not someone who's already raised 5 kids, bounced grandbabies on his knee, and is basically in the halftime commentary stage of parenting. The mismatch is glaring, and it's got fans seriously questioning how this love story can play out without somebody sacrificing big dreams. Deion's been through the trenches of parenthood already. He's changed the diapers, sat through the parent-teacher conferences, survived the teenage drama, and even cut those massive checks for college tuition. So if he's talking about having another baby now, let's be real. It's more like a bonus round to him, not the start of some fresh new legacy, and that's where the imbalance starts to show. Even if Deion swears he's open to more kids, there's this thing called psychological detachment. When somebody has already raised a full roster of children, they just don't attach to the next one in the same way. It's not that they won't care, but they've already cared deeply for decades. So while Karrueche would be all in, treasuring every single baby milestone, Deion could be sitting back in the luxury suite of fatherhood, sipping on wisdom, shrugging off the chaos, and muttering, "This too shall pass." That urgency just won't match. And in love, that mismatch is no small thing. And then there's the issue of life alignment. Karrueche is 37, glowing, toned, and thriving. She's making her own money, living in her lane, and stepping into her most powerful, self-aware era. As she approaches her 40s, she's ready to chase her dreams with full force. But does her timeline really line up with a man who's already lived multiple lifetimes worth of family drama? That's the storm cloud hanging over this whole situation. Karrueche looks like she's finally ready to drop anchor and build something solid. But the man she's tying herself to has already docked his yacht and sailed that journey years ago. Choosing Deion means stepping into a blended family where the kids aren't toddlers. They're full-grown adults with their own lives, their own drama, and yes, they still demand his time, attention, and maybe even his financial backing. That's a lot for anyone new to walk into. And let's not forget who we're talking about. Deion Sanders is a man obsessed with legacy. For him, the idea of having another baby at this stage might not come from the same tender place as Karrueche's dream of being a first-time mom. It could easily be about ego, about chasing one last chapter, one last headline, one more way to stamp his mythology into the history books. That kind of motivation is dangerous because a child shouldn't be a vanity project or a symbol. It should be family, love, and soul connection. At the end of the day, when one partner is dreaming about a first baby shower and rocking their newborn to sleep, while the other is mentally at the after party of parenting, somebody is going to feel unseen, unheard, and straight up unfulfilled. That's not just a mismatch, it's a heartbreak waiting to happen. Kids don't just need diapers and bedtime stories, they need full throttle emotional investment. But how do you give that when your focus is split between holding up an empire and stepping into new parenthood at the same time? That's the tightrope Deion is walking, and it's raising real questions about what kind of father figure he'd be if Karrueche gets her wish for a baby. And let's not forget, Karrueche's already survived one of the messiest roller coasters in Hollywood. After the very public heartbreak with Chris Brown, she bounced back into something way calmer with retired NFL star Victor Cruz. Victor was low-key, soft-spoken, and private. Their relationship made sense. Comfortable, balanced, and quiet. Yes, he had a child from a previous relationship, but he and Karrueche seemed to meet on equal ground. Now enter Deion Sanders, a man who is the opposite of subtle. He's flashy, loud, unapologetically cocky, and thrives on being the center of attention. He speaks in sound bites, sometimes calls himself in the third person, and everything about him screams brand first, man second. Prime time never clocks out, not even at home. Dating someone like Deion doesn't just mean a relationship, it means signing up for the Deion show, and that production runs 24/7. His history proves it too. Every woman in his orbit eventually gets folded into his narrative, molded into his storyline, whether she likes it or not. The question is, will Karrueche be able to shine on her own, or is she destined to become another character in his never-ending saga? Look back at Deion's history and you'll see a pattern. His ex-wives, Carolyn and Pilar, didn't carve out big public identities while they were with him. Their roles were crystal clear: stand behind primetime, cheer him on, and never overshadow the brand. That setup only works when someone's willing to dim their own light so his can keep burning bright. Then came Tracey Edmonds, and she broke the mold. Tracey was already a powerhouse, successful, wealthy, and with her own established career. She wasn't lining up to play background in Deion's cinematic universe because she already had her own blockbuster running. And even though they dated for years, it never led to marriage. Honestly, nobody's shocked. Deion doesn't seem to be searching for a true equal. What he really wants is a quiet cheerleader, a caretaker, someone willing to move on his script at his pace. So now the big question, where does Karrueche fit in? On paper, she's got her own shine. She's an Emmy-winning actress with undeniable talent and beauty that turns heads everywhere she goes. But then there's the other side. She's also cashing in on OnlyFans, even selling pics of her feet for subscribers. That little detail has people side-eyeing her motives. Is she really building her own empire, or is she secretly open to playing the role of sponsored partner in Primetime's larger-than-life story? The contradiction is messy, and it makes this romance look less like a love story and more like a business arrangement in disguise. And here's the real soap opera twist nobody saw coming. Back in 2021, Karrueche actually starred in Games People Play, a project produced by none other than Tracey Edmonds, Deion's fiancée at the time. That's right, the very woman once lined up to be Mrs. Primetime was publicly celebrating Karrueche. Tracey even posted a picture of them hugged up, calling her an incredible star in the caption. Woo! Who knew that little Hollywood connection would circle back into today's love triangle vibes? So when it comes to Karrueche and Deion now, maybe the idea of her sliding into a supporting role in Primetime's story isn't so far-fetched after all. Because let's be honest, if the perks on the table include luxury cars, private jets, designer everything, and a fully funded soft life, plenty of people would at least think about signing up. Some fans even admit, "Me too, bestie." But behind the glamour, there's a darker reality. Deion has been fighting serious health battles for years. In 2021, he endured multiple surgeries that ended with the amputation of 2 toes. He's been open about the pain, the endless hospital stays, and the toll it's taken on him mentally and physically. And then came July 2025, when he dropped the bombshell. He'd been diagnosed with bladder cancer and now lives with an artificial bladder. This isn't just a love story anymore. It's survival, legacy, and lifestyle all colliding in the messiest way possible. Deion has even admitted the raw details, wearing adult diapers and losing control of his bladder at night. That's tough to hear, but it's his reality. Now let's clear one thing up. His age alone isn't the real issue. 57 by itself is not old. Plenty of 57-year-olds are out here living vibrant, energetic, and drama-free lives with no major health problems slowing them down. But Deion's situation, that's different. He's not the picture of youthful health. He's a middle-aged man juggling very real medical battles. Years of coaching stress, a jam-packed schedule, and the weight of managing a big blended family have left scars. That doesn't make him unworthy of love, of course not. Standing by someone during health struggles is admirable, even beautiful. But here's the question. When a relationship starts with those heavy challenges as the backdrop, what's really in it for Karrueche? Because let's be real, love isn't just about butterflies or late-night conversations. It's about alignment, about how someone fits into the bigger story you're still writing for yourself. And Karrueche? She's been through hell and back already. She survived public humiliation, rebuilt her self-worth, and earned an Emmy on her own name. She doesn't need to borrow someone else's spotlight. She already carved out her shine. So why step into a chapter where her role risks being rewritten into caretaker, sidekick, or background character in Primetime's saga? That's the messy question fans can't stop asking. Karrueche isn't that same girl who once tolerated chaos just to hold on to crumbs of love. She's a woman now with a future that's polished, powerful, and worth protecting. But if she's not careful, she could find herself dimming down again, making space for a man who's already lived through his prime chapters and is now replaying highlight reels. That's the danger, shrinking her shine for someone who's already written most of their story. So the real question isn't about whether Karrueche can handle Deion, because clearly she can. The question is, does he truly deserve a seat in the next chapter of her life? Or is she risking everything she's built to become just another name in the never-ending primetime saga? If you enjoyed this deep dive, drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget, you're locked into the most talked about channel for celebrity drama.